Good morning, everyone. This is Training and AutoML Working Room Community Call on 20th of August. This meeting will be recorded and published on YouTube, and this meeting is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct. As always, welcome everyone. So today we have a few things to talk about, around trainer release and SDK. Uh, Before we get started, any new people here on the call who just want to introduce themselves? Just want to say hello. Right, with that, let me maybe share my screen quickly so we can go over the items. Yeah, we just reminder, like we usually have this meeting at 5 p.m. and also at 2 p.m. UTC. So we kind of like try to keep this different meeting schedule because we have a few folks from different time zone, so they can also join us and discuss various topics. So let's see how it goes like in the future, especially with this new SDK calls. But we basically need to find time which works for the majority of contributors so we can have a conversations around the updates there. Yeah, so let maybe I know we have a few items from the last call that we didn't get a chance to talk about. Maybe first we can go over it. So I don't see Madi on the call right now. Yeah, he's not here, right? Yeah, so I think like we basically need to find alignment around JAX support within Trainer. So we try to build the JAX runtime, and I think the open question is like whether we want to use MPI based runtime or we want to build the JAX plugin and start a JAX job using the Python CLI or MPI around CLI. So I think like since Magdi not on the call right now, we can just follow up async. Otherwise, because the final discussion was around, if we use the MPI run to kick off the JAX job, whether we can use TPUs, whether we can still use TPUs, or like we require to have two different set of templates we need to maintain. So this like I want to really talk about for this feature. Yeah, any questions so far for the JAX before we can move forward? All right, so other topics, I think it's around GPU support. I think Akash, I'm not sure if he also joined the call, but I think all in all, we kind of like almost enable the GPU infrastructure for trainer. Like we have one GPU which is always running in the Oracle cluster. So I think like initial goal, like the long-term goal for us was to use some of those GitHub runners, which is running on top of Oracle infrastructure. But as of now, like as far as like we were doing the progress here, we just have a one GPU which been deployed there, like one VM, and we run some of those tests in this GPU. Um, this is required. So one of the, I guess, like the question is here, we need to have someone who can work on IRC, like on those runners. And I hope Akash can, can allocate some time to migrate, because basically we need to run more actions on GPUs, which especially like in the examples that is require, like the fine-tuning examples, like the deep speed and MLX examples require GPU to run, like torch tuning examples the same. So we definitely need to have some GPU infrastructure to run those tests. Um, yes, I think like, we will continue pushing this for. I think initially, let me post this PR. I think this one. Yeah, so I think like the first goal for us to just enable something. Maybe we will only trigger action on those on this VM, which is always running. And then like that action will only be triggered once we apply the label. So basically we don't want to run this we don't want to utilize GPU for every commit. This was like I think the initial design was about. Yeah, I think it's already here. So please take a look like this initial support for GPU infrastructure for trainer. I think this is important because we've never had to actually have GPUs in our testing infra to run tests. So I think this is pretty cool to have this working. Yeah. So all right. So let's maybe quickly talk about the calls, right? We want to have for SDK. So I know we've previously been discussing we want to have a calls on Wednesdays, right? Wednesdays 5 p.m. UTC, which is I think 9 a.m. Pacific time, right? Like, does it work for everyone, or what do you think we should do here?
In my case, it works for our team. But it also depends on machine learning working group as well.
Yeah, I just would like Andre to make sure that Stefano also can make all the timing.
Okay.
Because, but he's in PTO, I can check with him.
Yeah, we can start with the weekly 5 p.m. meetings, or like 9 a.m. Pacific time. At least, like, I think that this will cover like your team, because I think you're on the East Coast, right? So you're in London time zone, right? If I remember correctly.
Me?
Yeah,
Ireland.
yeah, Ireland,
Yeah,
right?
it's London. Yep.
So it's the same time zone, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, and you,
and
mhm.
the GSOC student that's helping us in Mondo, and I have myself, and I have Stefano in Italy. I have myself here, and I have another person that can help on East Coast as well, and another in Brazil for the
Okay.
working group.
Yeah, and Brazil time zone is close to PST. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. It's close to EST, close to mine. It's 1 hour
You're right. You're
before,
right.
depending on the side. Of course, it's the same or the less,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they are 1 hour from.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, we can start with 5 p.m. and see how it goes. I think like the most important how we can get this meeting on the calendar, right? So that you didn't get chance, right, to explore like what we can do with the calendar admins.
Yeah, I didn't. After you're commented in Explore on that yet.
Okay. Yeah, like the problem is right now the Kubeflow calendar is broken. So we cannot remove meetings, we cannot add meetings, and this infrastructure has been there for quite some time. Yeah, so I think we need to figure out whether we want to migrate to the Linux calendar, or we want to fix the existing one, right? Um, yeah, because I think like so the main problem is like if we don't really fix the calendar, like how we can make sure the folks who subscribe for Kubeflow Discuss will get this invites, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I also do like to not block this working group on this because we can use the thread and we can use send email meanwhile
Yeah.
because like will be one email per 2 weeks, so it's fine, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
I just want to kick off this because the GSOC student on the MLS experience working group is almost wrapping up the work on his side. And
Okay.
then we need to start to split, and he's doing the backend migration of Kale for Kubeflow pipelines V2. And
Okay.
now I'm working with him on the front end. Probably he'll touch rock the back end, but on the front end we can split among others.
Okay. No, okay. That's fine. Yeah, so alternatively, we can also just invite. So previously, I've been maintaining my own calendar because like, we had the same problem before, and I have my own calendar for AutoML working group previously, and I just manually invite the Qflow discuss to those meetings. But this is not actually how we want to do, right? We want to like eventually have a similar calendars that Kubernetes maintain, Kubernetes working groups maintain. So we definitely need to allocate some time to fix those problems.
Yeah, I'll take a look at this on this eventually. The worst part, as you mentioned, is that someone that goes for the website and
Yep.
don't see the
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. I think yeah. So one of the ideas maybe could be either like to add ourselves to those Google groups, so in internal SCLs, right? Um,
Mm-hmm. This one that I'll take a look.
yeah, try to just add one of our
Mm-hmm.
emails, see if the sync is going to synchronize them, right? Like those emails, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, just like this, we still have some GCP groups here which we previously been using. I don't know if this infrastructure is still running, but we can try at least to add us to those
Mm-hmm.
groups, right? Hmm. Okay. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I think it's somewhere here in the calendar. Yeah, calendar admins, right? Yeah, this one.
sorry, once we are here, I'm curious, what is the state of this machine learning experience working group? So currently there's this GSOC student, right, working on this, but what are the plans and what is the state? And
Yeah, my only question if I should like take 2 minutes to say this on this call or because I don't want to diverse the training call. Should I? Is fine?
No, we can definitely talk about, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, right
So
now, because they're totally connected overall, right?
exactly. Yeah. What we are doing there is we want to create a Jupyter extension for Kubeflow that is able, like the SDK is doing that the goal to connect all the projects. This Kubeflow extension, it also will touch multiple projects. For instance, when I fire a pipeline to SDK, I can see the visuals of that pipeline and you can see model REST visuals on the UI. The approach that we are doing, we are taking an old popular project called Kubeflow KO that was stale for 4 years, this project. And we are revamping this project, doing a bump in the dependencies and all this sort of stuff. And also converting KO for Kubeflow pipelines V2 on the backend. This work is a pull request, is almost done by the GSOC student. And I'm working with the GSOC student for the first front end. What KO does is like you have a notebook, right? And then you can annotate these notebooks, blocks of these notebooks, and each is Kubeflow KO, the repository. Yeah, this is one. And there is the pull request if you go there.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the pull request that we are working on with the GSOC student. So you annotate the notebook with some blocks from KO, and when you click run, you generate a Kubeflow pipeline based on that notebook.
Yeah, so eventually it's like Elira, if you ever heard about it. Elira has similar capabilities, but Elira is more you can drag and drop notebooks. Here you can, like annotate the cells, right? And then schedule them. Right?
And you are using this just a starting point for the extension, and then we are going to evolve on the top of this code.
Yeah, like my expectation that, I know there is some work in, this notebooks v2 right now, and there is a discussion whether, we should iframe all the UIs within workspace, right? Do multiple things there. So I think we should somehow connect all those pieces together and see how we can provide a consistent experience for, Kubeflow users. I understand it's kind of like, cross working group discussion, and, requires a lot of effort, right, from different stakeholders. Yeah, but maybe, if like, either your team is invested in this, we can, think about how we can expand it, right? Because KL is just one piece of the board.
No, KO is just because our working group needs to own code. We are seeing KO as a starting point for the extension. And then we are going to evolve on top of this. Just to build a community on top.
From the maintainer.
Sorry?
Yeah, yeah, go finish it then.
Yeah, and my end goal on this is like I would like the data scientists to be able to do most of their daily tasks with Kubeflow inside Jupyter without having to leave. When you combine the SDK plus the extension, the data science can do most of their work inside Jupyter.
Yep.
That is our vision for this.
Yeah, that's what we discussed, 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's not 2 years, it's like 1 year.
Yeah, or 1 year. I mean, I think we had a discussion for like a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, eventually data scientists, they don't want to jump from Jupyter to other,
Yes, yep.
So I think, yeah, this problem still exists. Like, I just like want to understand like how Kubeflow UIs will evolve then. Because
for the model REST UI, the way that we're designing also the notebooks, we can with the models that we created like standalone, we put in the vision that we can embed all those models inside the extension. With other working groups, we need to start to collaborate with them to make sure this works.
Yep. Yeah, I think like one of the discussions we have, like how we can make our UI some sort of flexible, right, and portable. So how we can build it as an extension. But that will require, again, if you remember, like build them using the like the framework, right? Like what Jupyter extension is using for. So the framework which allows you to
interact with
extensions, right?
This will be the part of the extension. The extension will build this. We will use Jupyter constructs to load the mini apps from other working groups.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what the future of KO holds.
Okay. And all of those UIs that you're building around, pipelines, trainer,
Exactly.
model registry, right? Do you
Yep.
use them as an extension, right, within
Yeah,
Jupyter?
exactly. Yep.
Um, yeah, anyway, so yeah, I think like, I know you also been discussing, how we can, so I know there is a work, at least like what I'm saying, the notebooks call last week, there is a work of building those tokens, right? Like the centralized tokens, the CSS tokens, which we can reuse, right? In different part of the Kubeflow UIs, right?
Yep.
All this work, I guess, connected, right? From my understanding.
Yes, they're all connected because we need to use those tokens to make the visual experience good inside Jupyter.
Okay, sounds good.
It's a long work, but the way that I tell the people at Red Hat let's go step by step, and then we build this in community.
Yep, sounds good.
And KO is a good first step because there is a lot of code base. There is some traction from the community as well. On when Stefano create that mail list, and there is we ported KO also for Jupyter 4, so KO is everything modern, and we can build this extension using the KO as a basis.
So who will be the maintainers then?
Will be myself, Stefano, the GSOC student, that's Amrit, and probably two more people in my side I will have. But
So yeah.
they need to just to step up when we spin up the working group.
So did Stefan confirm that he can invest his personal time to work on Kale full time? Like not full time, but
Not foot a person. He's doing the backend
okay.
review already.
Yeah, and so do you have like, do you want to have this as a separate project or do you want to merge this with notebooks? Like,
I think we need to do it as a separate project. It'll be better because Notebook are going to use this in their image, but it's a separate, I think.
yeah, because I mean, like one of the things you can start with just merging them to the workspaces, right? And then relate it together with notebooks v2.
I will not like to tie this with notebooks because they are orthogonal with other working groups as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think like one of the important pieces, like in terms of maintainers, right, and their commitment, right?
Yeah.
We need to make sure, like
Mhm.
they will support this moving forward, right?
Yeah, I think Andre, like as soon as we have this, we wrap up the GSOC student, right? And we
Okay.
have KO up to the version. I think you and myself and Stefano, we can have a chat to see the commitments, and then I have also replies from my side and who is going to be invested on there. And only then we can merge this code, move this, talk about moving this code for his own working group, I would say.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because like one of the things around when project want to join Qflow, like want to make sure, they've been maintained, right?
No, absolutely, yeah. But I think there is we need to start the calls to grab people attentions and then be able to create this working group velocity, especially if you merge the SDK and LSP working group in the same call. I think it'd be nice.
Yeah.
But you're correct.
Go ahead.
I just want to push this forward, the KO donation to Kubeflow if you have a clear commitment from maintainers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
like one of the kind of asks, and I guess it was like we discussed this yesterday with the community around, Spark MCP, like who are the maintainers, right?
Yeah.
And the maintainers, they have to give some commitment to the project. Just
Yeah.
we don't want, like a Qflow just to be, just have some project which is unmaintained, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
And for Red Hat side, it'll be not just me, right? Because I do like overall overview of all the things on the UI and ID, but we have two people that could be assigned to this.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so again, my expectation here is to this working group some sort of should have discussion with all of the Qflow maintainers.
Yep.
Because even like Qflow SDK, the Jupyter experience, they kind of tightly connected to all the, also build. That is why, yes, I agree. We should have like like their own calls, but at the same time, we have to, see what's happening
Yeah.
with TFP, especially, right? What we're happening with
Yeah.
notebooks, right? Model registry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So makes sense.
I start by the notebooks and KFP and the model registry and also trainer because we are most active and we are all interested on this, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, so let's definitely let's create what is it, the Google Notes,
Mm-hmm.
and let's update the website, right? So
Mm-hmm.
meeting notes.
And I will also write a small keep, a Kubeflow enhancer proposal as a Kubernetes enhancer keep for
Yeah,
the working group.
you mean for Kale or for what?
No, for extension.
Yeah, but what do you mean?
Because you asked me like 2 weeks or 1 month ago about writing like you did for the SDK, writing a cap.
Okay, okay. Yeah, but so by SDK, what, but is the SDK we already created this right before?
No, to do the same for the ML experience working group for the Jupyter extension.
I think we've done this before. You mean like for the working group by itself or for extensions?
No, for the extension, for the extension.
But we're talking about which extensions? Only Kale or other extensions as well?
No, Kale in the future.
Hmm. Yeah, I think for Kale, I think so we need to kind of decouple this, right? So if Stefano as an owner want to, make Kale as a
I see your point.
Kubeflow
I
sub
see.
project, right? We need to, fill this application, and
Hmm.
we can, whether, if KSC accept it, we can transfer the repo and, continue development, right?
I
Um,
see your point. Yeah. Makes
Similar to what we've
sense.
done for Spark, right? For MCP Spark.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I will start a thread because as Stefano was out, Andre, I saw a thread between us to discuss
Okay.
this.
Yeah. Well, just an example like this, like how Vara is doing.
Yep.
So create cap for, I think we call it being a Kubeflow sub project, but yeah, just a proposal, right? We can call it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's cool. Like definitely, like let's start this, kick off this, and let's see how like the community, will engage. We definitely need more people and more commitment on this side. And I think like
Mm-hmm.
overall, this is like aligned with the goals we have, like we discussed for a very long time, right?
Yep.
So when
So sorry, and the thing, just maybe wrap up on this, is that the thing that on Red Hat I have people available to help on this, but they need the working group in order to justify their assignments.
Yeah, makes sense. You go ahead, Anya.
yeah, when do we kick off? Probably next week. Is it right?
Yeah. Let's like
Yeah.
the first call. So first call for everyone here on the call. Like it will be next. What is it?
Hmm.
What is the date? Next Wednesday.
27th.
Yeah, 27.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know if it's the right pronunciation. I will ping you also for us to set up this.
Yep, sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, for now,
Perfect.
so Eder, like for now, let's update the website. Let's create the meeting note,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
you can try to fix the calendar. Just set our emails there. If
Mm-hmm.
fix, we still, at least like inform everyone, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Can you put a to-do for me, please, on
Yeah.
this?
So
Yeah. Just to go to my mail.
update the website, create meeting notes,
Mm-hmm.
announce it's in Kubeflow discuss, right?
Yep.
Then what else? Like we need to also do announcement for in Kubeflow announcement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Channel. Yeah, I think we probably need to also maybe ask Outreach team to also post it on the LinkedIn, right? And ask.
Yes. Yeah. I can reach out to people on the outreach.
All right. Yep, I think that sounds good. Yeah,
Thank
next
you.
call. Yeah, August 27th at 5 p.m. UTC.
Yep, and thank you for doing that. And if you need any help, just feel free
Yeah,
to ping me.
definitely. Thank you. All right. So, any other questions, or we can move on to SDK discussions? Yeah, I think for SDK, I think overall we need to kind of like align when we want to do the first release. I know, Sati, you've done some update for local execution, right? Based on our recent conversation, right?
Yes, I've addressed the latest comments, and PR is in testing right now. I think it passes most of the tests, so the remaining one I think should be good to go too. There's one or two remaining, but based on what succeeded, should be fine. I have like adopted to the new way of doing stuff. There is some I try to use type alias and make a union of it, so we just use a single type instead of having big definitions for the functions. Instead, like that is not supported in Python 3.9. My Python locally is a bit higher, so I removed it and I just like kept it somehow still type alias without type alias being available. Anyways, the last commit should hopefully be successful, and I've addressed pretty much everything you've been raised that has been raised so far. The registry part, I know like there is some confusion around it. It's not really being used that much in here. I just used to automatically load and configure the backends instead of just adding a lot of big if conditions. Just a dictionary holding this. If the name is confusing, I can rename it to like trainer backends and remove the word registry if it creates confusion. It just like instead of
Yeah,
adding
yeah, yeah.
if conditions, I just like automatically load it and configure it.
Okay. Do you see, do you kind of like, can we introduce registry in the future, like just to avoid confusion?
Yeah, definitely, no problem. It just like if I remove this line, like the line that contains, I will remove the word registry to avoid confusion and just make it trainer backends.
Mhm.
Um, then there will be no registry at all. But it makes me automatically and dynamically
Yep.
load this in the trainer client.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. So yeah, my only question, so I'm not against the registry, I just want to understand like, why do we need this? Because so if you didn't get a chance to attend the previous calls, but we discussed how we can build these built-in trainers to also be extensible. So as of today, we support only like torch-tune config, but we want to like, adopt our SDK to support more kind of, fine-tuning frameworks. It could be,
Yeah.
Onslaught, Llama Factory, or where we want to support, right? And we want to like also allow customer like users to plug in their own backends. So I think registry is a good thing. I think question like, do we need the registry for backends? Um, because there will be always like
Hmm.
three backends. So we want to support like Kubernetes, local, and Docker, maybe, right? Like not Docker, like
Yeah.
typical container, right? Or like
There will be
or-
probably Docker, Podman, local execution, and Kubernetes at the moment. Kubernetes should work pretty well with any Kubernetes deployment like AKS, AKS, or any flavor of Kubernetes. That's why it's like if there is a special need for these kind of backends, remote backends, that maybe on AKS I install Trainer and I would like to use it, then you can just like add your own like flavor here.
Can you clarify use case? Like what could be the use case then?
So like right now, if you deploy the trainer on an AKS cluster and use your own GPUs, and for this backend specific backend, you might need to use different authentication mechanism, for example, than the one that we support in here. If you use the default vanilla Kubernetes authentication, it might not work, or you might need to configure your AKS cluster to work in a very specific way to meet the SDK client. I know like AWS might use additional authentication mechanisms to their Kubernetes. They might inject some AWS related stuff, which I don't know. Like if Kubernetes supports this out of the box, then we're safe. If not, then maybe for those backends, they might need to do additional API
Yeah,
calls or additional stuff.
yeah, I think it's
But
true. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Go, sorry, go ahead.
no, but I'm happy either way if we keep it as it is at the moment, like as it is, just like loading Kubernetes config and Kubernetes takes care of like supporting this. So
No, I think overall it's a good actually point. So I could imagine that we can have a customer who build their own API server, right? And then
yeah,
the backend needs to talk to this API server, right? Instead of talking directly to Kubernetes API server, right?
yeah. So it just opens it for extensibility. Like if customers have different use cases, you can just register their own backends and then it is supported. And there is other people implementing similar mechanisms. I'll try to share a repo where people implement this. But maintaining this means like people can just install the SDKs. They don't have to put stuff inside the SDK. They can just install it, get the trainer backends, update the dictionary with their own backend of their own type, and just use it locally for their own flavors if they want to.
Mm-hmm. And
So it's
how
just
so
a global dictionary.
this extension, do they need to build another Python library for this extension then? Like how the imports will work?
So like when you import this dictionary and at the beginning before you import the trainer client or anything else, and then you update it maybe with your own backend implementation, which comes from your own Python class or your own library, then I
Mhm.
guess it should work automatically without having to merge it to the Kubeflow SDK. But anyways,
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Actually, I think definitely I see like use cases will be utilized there. And especially like, I guess like they just need to mimic our API, right? The least runtime
yes,
train, right? Create least jobs, right? So
yep.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and then I guess it will be just called a backend with this API, right? And then they can use.
Yeah, and as a point of standardization, for example, the train job naming convention should happen in the parent train function and then delegate to the backends to just run these. So we get like
Yeah, yeah,
a standard naming convention for on Docker, on Podman, on local execution, and so on.
yeah, yeah. That definitely makes sense. Makes sense. Um, yeah, I think it's great. Let's definitely follow up with this. I think like once we
Sure,
release
yeah.
and we maybe you can have a tracking issue to see how we can make it more extensible, right? And maybe we can
Yep.
inherit, this the same mechanism for again for built-in trainers, because I think allow like as of today, like we only support torch-tune config in our built-in trainers, but like
Yeah.
we want to in the future support more of those configs, right? So I'm talking about torch-tune config, this one, right? Um,
Hmm.
how they can specify basically the properties for their fine-tuning job. So the like so they don't need to even manage the train script. So the main difference between custom trainer and the Torchtune basically built-in trainers. In the built-in trainers, they don't even need to worry about fine-tuning. Sorry, about the training script. They just changing the property. Like we already
Yeah.
pre-made the script for them basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to restructure maybe our types to make sure like it aligns
Okay.
with customer needs and maybe allow also customers to add their own trainers. Like let's say Anthos is not supported right now. If
Yep.
I want to use it, I maybe can just use a base trainer and that should work with the trainer client and other components to just submit my own job with Anthos, which is not supported at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just build for the future because this is like moving so fast and every day there's a new library, new
Yeah, yeah,
innovation,
yeah,
and so on.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like again, Torchstone already been kind of deprecated, right? So we kind of like see
Yeah.
how we can, build our API that will work for all those future, enhancement, etc. But I think it's great. So when we want to release SDK, like what is our kind of maybe from my perspective, I think it's almost ready to have like first initial release.
Uh, there are a few moments that we'll need to also do well. So first of all, the local execution mode rate will need to cover
Yep.
Docker and Podman. While we are doing that, I will try to get the automated release process tests and scripts on place.
Okay.
And then also I wanted to talk about the documentations. I remember we were discussing that on the GitHub PR. I do think that we should have a dedicated page on the Kubeflow website for that. I'm not saying that we should replicate the, examples from different components, but we should have a starting point for users, how to install and how to use the Kubeflow SDK. And once we get most of the components in Kubeflow SDK, we could have a, end-to-end workflow on how you can combine those components together. Some of the examples. What do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think that from my perspective, I would start with API docs. Like, I remember, like, we had this open issue to regenerate the documentation based on the trainer doc strings, right? The Qflow SDK. I think that's the open issue.
Yeah, but it's gonna be specifically for trainer and Katip.
No, no, it will be for SDK, right? For the entire SDK.
And then we'll have like docs for
Yeah,
trainer and
yeah, yeah.
Katip in
Yeah,
there.
so similar to model registry, right? So model registry today
Yeah.
and KFP maintains a website like where they publish their docs about, like the overall overview of model registry APIs. So we should have the same for Qflow SDK. And eventually, yes, I agree that it should, we should have everything in the one website. It's today just not possible with Qflow website. This is a problem, right? Uh,
Yeah, so we'll have a unified docs for unified SDK. And then what do we do with model registry docs and pipelines? Do we just migrate it to the unified docs?
yeah, so yeah, from my understanding, like KFP right now, they maintain this website, right? It's a separate website completely from kubeflow.org. And they have explanation about all those APIs, right, in KFP. I know Model Registry also maintain their own website for Model Registry SDK.
Yeah.
So as of now, I think we should build a website for Kubeflow SDK, not a website like, this reference basically, right?
Yeah.
Which will auto-generate based on the models. I think we can use, I don't know, Model Registry. We need to explore what they use, what KFP is using. I think previously we've been discussing whether to use Sphinx, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's Sphinx. Yeah.
Yes, Sphinx, right? So yeah, the question what we want to use for Kubeflow SDK. And once we migrate, KFP Model Registry to the Kubeflow SDK, we can, just deprecate those websites, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
And then we'll just get rid of this website. Is it
yeah,
right?
I think so, right? Because you should have like a one-stop shop for, all of those uh, references, right?
Yeah. Fist also uses Sphinx for that. Okay, that makes sense. I could take a look at that.
Yeah, go ahead. So maybe let me run.
Yeah, so regarding SDK in general, just a quick proposal. I know like we've been trying to like migrate model registry and optimizer. Are we sticking or do we want to migrate any of those? Also, like, what about we do something like soft migration? And soft migration means we just pip install these components if they are published, and then we add a wrapper around them or like namespace them under Kubeflow. We just create a directory and a namespace for them, and then make it as part of the Kubeflow SDK. So if you install this, you get it as part of the Kubeflow SDK. I know it's not what we agreed on, but then it kind of like pushes this with the Kubeflow SDK and people get it as well for free. Then we work on migration plans for like components or projects SDK to the Kubeflow SDK for later on. So in the future releases, the actual code will be migrated from their repository to our Kubeflow SDK repo. Or maybe we discuss this on the SDK call if there's too much of a
Yeah,
topic.
go first, Salim.
Yeah, just real quick that yeah, that makes sense regarding soft migration. However, my personal opinion is that we should release it, the Kubeflow SDK, just with trainer and local execution mode for now, so that we don't postpone the first release. And then we could take a look at that and discuss that with the working group.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, go ahead there.
No.
Yeah, like my only point is, yeah, I agree. Like we should release this as fast as we can. We should again because eventually the people who use Trainer they want to have just do pip install Kubeflow and try this out. As of now, that is not possible. The soft migration makes sense, but I know I also want to hear Francisco's perspective because he wants us, the Kubeflow being included in the KFP, and there is an open issue in KFP to just install this as a default in pipelines because pipelines is a mostly KFP is a mostly used package as of now, right? And if we included by default the Kubeflow SDK, all of the people who use KFP today, they can leverage, Trainer, they can leverage other clients, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we briefly talked with Francisco about that. That also a good point for that will be including Kubeflow SDK in the pipelines image, because currently pipelines they pre-install KFP SDK, and we could include KFP in unified SDK and then use unified SDK and pre-install it in the Kubeflow image. That's something that.
Yeah.
We should do the same for the notebooks as well, right? For the
Yeah, in
notebooks
the launch.
image.
Yeah, and I think notebooks is definitely much easier. Like we can do this in notebooks images. I think like what you are talking about, avoid me if I'm wrong, you're talking about including in a launcher, right? When KFP install, like when basically a pipeline's been triggered, they have a launcher, right? And they have an executor, right?
Yeah.
Like I think by default it's only installing KFP for all of those drivers. Maybe I think they call them drivers, right? So they can execute the part of the KFP code within those drivers, right? Like I'm talking about let me quickly show you. I think I have this in the self-assessment doc. Security. I think we merged it already. So docs. Yeah, this is the kind of the high-level architecture that, if I remember correctly, Anish prepared for KFP. So they have like the pipeline, and they have a driver pods, and they have a launcher, right? So if I remember correctly, they install KFP in the launcher pod, so it can execute some of those APIs within it. Um, Yes, because like eventually, if we pre-install Kubeflow SDK to all of the launchers by default, users don't need to install it via like packages to install in the KFP components, because they can just use those components, just use those clients within the KFP component, if that makes sense. Um, anyway, I think like it's kind of like, so from my perspective, we should release this in the PyP and then discuss with KFP folks what we can do for the short term versus long term, right?
Yes. Again, like on releasing, I think the SDK should have been released already, because we released Trainer, and people will just attempt to use Trainer, and then there is no pip install for Kubeflow SDK. Anyway, so fast release, yes, I agree. Let's get local execution. I'm dedicating as much time as I can for local execution. I appreciate reviews, so I can just get like this done out of the way to unblock the Docker and Podman implementations. They already implemented, but you just need to rework on the new.
Do you want to? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to include them in the first release?
It's up to you. Like we can have sub process only, and then we can introduce Podman and Docker maybe in a follow-up release.
Yeah, I would.
I think it makes sense to also include Docker and Podman, because we already have, draft PRs which worked before for Docker and Podman, which is just aligned with, refactored code that's added. So it should be straightforward, hopefully.
And we can do again. I don't. So from my perspective, I kind of like expect more, more frequent release cadence for SDK. So from my expectation, we can do this, every month, for example, right? Because SDK is just lightweight wrapper on top of Kubernetes Python client. It's not, control plane. Can definitely release this much faster. Um, which means like, if we merge your set, like your local execution PR this week, um, we might need to be ready to release it, early next week, if you think. But let's maybe follow up for this, because I don't want for you to feel that, if we release it, next week, we'll only release like in 3 months, because SDK is much more lightweight, right?
Yep.
And do we want to like announce the first release, then like prepare the docs and then announce in the social media or whatever? Or do we just want to have a quick release? That's it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, I'm not sure about the blog post though. Like, we can definitely have the announcement in the Google group, in the LinkedIn, X, and other social media.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I think like one of the things maybe that's also connected. I want to hear. I think this is kind of connected to this my next discussion. Like one of the things that I noticed right now within the ML community, there are many models which have been released all the time. So as you can see, like recently OpenAI released GPT models which is open source. I think it's like 150 billion parameters, and many they kind of like partner with many organizations to announce the support. Like for example, when they release this model, the VLM announced that you can easily run GPT OSS within VLM, because they support it. And I think in VLM you have like the models that is being supported there. So my question is like, from kind of my expectation while designing those runtimes and template approach within trainer, that we can, give a users a quick ability to fine tune all those new LLMs. So without really understanding Kubernetes at all, right? Or understanding complexity. I think the trick for us, we don't really manage infrastructure. So we're kind of just managing, like the source code. But what I want to talk about, is there any way for us to see how we can, when the new foundational models get released, how we can say, hey, right now we can run those models on Kubernetes, and we can just give them one command, one blueprint, which they can quickly trigger to fine tune those LLMs. And this will require for us, to do a quick, Kubeflow SDK release, for example, right? Because I imagine, a new model come up, we create a blueprint for this model, and we release a SDK to support this model, right? For example. I just want to hear your perspective. Do you have any thoughts on this and whether this could be useful to say, hey, new model come up right now, you can fine tune this model and combine this with Kubeflow SDK. And whether everyone have any ideas on this.
I believe this could be really useful for people to prototype with new models once they are released, and they can like find the value in the Kubeflow SDK and Kubeflow in general, because like once you have a new release and it is supported by Kubeflow SDK, then I think more adoption will happen automatically. So the idea is maybe if we have the built-in trainer to kind of submit this or support this somehow, maybe we can just prepare a recipe or like a blueprint as you mentioned, Andre, and then when a new model is released, we can try it out on a Git job or something and see if it works. We publish our findings on the blog post.
Yep. Yeah, and trick is there like to do it fast, right? Because because what I notice, multiple organizations try to release models, and after 6 months, these models become obsolete, right? Or become like they release new version, so
Yeah.
which means like the previous version doesn't make sense to use it, right? So the question is like how to be fast in this, like in this momentum, and be relevant at the same time, right? Because what I expect, like what we can do, again, we can provide a foundation for them to use Kubernetes to fine tune those LLMs and provide them all the like all of the infrastructure orchestration which is required, right?
Yeah.
I think the trick for us, we don't really manage the application. We kind of more on orchestration layer, right? So we need to have it, like what I mean like by that, like we need to have a partner which like an Onslaught, for example. If Onslaught say right now you can fine tune GBT OSS with us, right? And at the same time, like we say, you can do this on Kubernetes, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because like what I notice, like I don't see, I see some, some organizations like Vertex AI or Bedrock also announced that right now you can, run those models on their platforms. But there is something like in terms of, coming from the Kubeflow community, right? Which say right now we are a layer to orchestrate those AI workloads in Kubernetes. When a new model gets released, can we give them a recipe or blueprint, right, to quickly fine tune it, right, and experiment?
Yeah. Are we planning to keep the code related to torch tune in our repo? Did we remove it?
Yeah. So Torsion is still there. I don't know.
Yeah, so probably need to deprecate it. And I think with support with the support of new libraries, and also like we need to do better integration between the SDK and known libraries. For example, if we're adding experiment tracking that Anya was working on, we probably need to get transformer library to support experiment tracking in Kubeflow, and we start having like a spanning horizontally, getting to support like Hugging Face libraries that people are using and other libraries that machine learning engineers and data scientists are using. I think this could also overlap with what Ether and the machine learning experience working group is doing. Like if we integrate with those libraries, we gain more visibility and we can easily support new models when they come out and have these recipes prepared relatively quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I think like I just want to hear any suggestions from the community, how we can be relevant and how we can be a state-of-the-art infrastructure to fine-tune those LLMs on Kubernetes specifically. Because as of now, right now, the trick is there, like you need to have hardware, you need to have like the cloud providers which can support for you, because you cannot really run this locally on your machine, right? You cannot quickly experiment. You still need to have access to infrastructure, which we don't really managing, right? Yeah, so I'm kind of like open to any ideas that if anyone have like maybe when we have like integration with other frameworks like Onslaught or Llama Factory or the transformers, right? Maybe we can see how we can be relevant in this when new models get released, right? Anyway, any questions for this? Right. So then I guess like, a few other things. I don't know if you noticed, but I recently added support for CUDA backend on MLX. I think this is pretty exciting and see a lot of energy within, MLX community. That's, we kind of like the first folks who try to port these frameworks on Kubernetes. Like no one actually trying to, run MLX on top of Kubernetes. And right now, because MLX has support for CUDA, we can actually have this, we can users can actually leverage MLX to on GPUs, and which is pretty cool. Like they can fine tune models, on GPU cluster, and then evaluate them locally on the local machines. And for those who don't know, like MLX is the framework which is kind of optimized for Apple Silicon. So, and it has like, some utilities libraries like MLX LM, which helps you to do fine tuning. And also it has some other, optimizations, especially to run this on, on Apple Silicon. So I kind of like added a few examples here to even like, fine tune Llama. And it's, relatively quick and like super simple to understand because I've been leveraging the MLX LM library, which has all the, like this APIs, which doesn't, require for me to even, think about sharing scripts or do etc. Just one API to trigger the fine tuning. So yeah, this is pretty cool. So I'm really exciting about this. Like I expect um, more kind of engagement from that community. So definitely, let's stay in touch and see how we can be relevant for different frameworks, especially on Kubernetes. Yeah. So, and I think other things around postspec, right? I don't see. Yeah, Yuki is not on the call right now. I think we need to have a conversation regarding APIs here. Um, yeah, so I think the question is like how we can move forward to support to extend postspec override to support port labels and annotations. And we need to find an agreement in terms of the API breaking changes we might want to introduce. Yeah, so let's definitely follow up. I'm not sure if um, yeah, if Antonio on the call right now. I think he's already left, right? Yeah, we can follow up offline or async or here on the issue. Yeah, so we're almost over time. So Magda, we just quickly talk about the Jack's proposal in the beginning. Yeah, I guess like my only question is to you, like if we choose to move forward with API run approach, can users still leverage TPUs?
Yeah, I think so, but I would like to propose to create two separate blueprints for each runner, if it's fine with you. One for MPI run and one for Python.
Do you see any advantages over using Python? Like what are the use cases to using Python?
Uh, I think it's only simpler. And for the TPU, we don't need any environment, and I'm afraid that when MPI run tries to set or injects any configuration, it may bring any unknown issues for the user.
Yeah, so my recommendations here just go with the one approach initially.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you can build the JAX plugin and then using just Python as a starting point, or you just leveraging the API plugin initially to show the value, right? Because like we don't want to maintain if API run works for all the hardware, we don't want
Mm-hmm.
to maintain multiple
Yeah, you're right.
plugins, right?
Okay, then I will go with MPI run if it's fine.
Yeah, and it works for TPUs as you said, right? I think Shao also said this in the PR. So
I think so, but I'm not sure.
okay, so with MPI there will be no breaking changes, right? For APIs. I'm talking about Kubernetes doing train job APIs or training runtime APIs.
I think so. Yeah. We
Okay.
only may need to implement a plugin for JAX.
Why do we need plugin if we use API plugin?
If we use Glue as a backend, then we need to inject environments
I see.
variables.
Yeah, so I guess like you probably need to discuss this in a proposal, right? Because if you want to have a JAX plugin, we probably need to introduce JAX ML policy, right?
Mhm.
And JAX ML policy can inherit something from API ML policy if it needs. Like, for
Yeah.
example, location to open API file, right, and do other things. Location to open API file, right, and do other things. Otherwise, if you just want to build a JAX plugin, I'm curious why just don't start with Python, right, and then use API if we see the need for this, right? So
Okay. So then let's follow up on the proposal.
okay, yeah. Can you just point to the breaking changes API, then we can talk about in your proposal, because I think breaking changes is like the most important one we should talk about from the
Okay.
API perspective, right?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, I guess any last questions? I know we're all like 4 minutes over time. All right, thanks everyone. So I guess like let's next call will be next week for Kubeflow is the KNML experience, and for the training work, we will have like the call in 2 weeks. So thanks everyone. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.